My dear friends, welcome back to PolyglotNook. Today I want to speak with you about idioms and expressions. Idioms are like secret codes of the language. They are not simple words. They are images, stories, and memories that native speakers share. When you use them, your English becomes warmer, more natural, and closer to the heart. I remember the first time I heard a strange idiom. A man said, "It is raining cats and dogs." I looked up at the sky, waiting to see cats and dogs fall from the clouds. Once, with smile. Of course, I saw only rain. And that was the moment I understood, idioms are not about logic, they are about imagination. So today, dear friends, I will share with you some wonderful idioms. For each idiom, I will tell you the origin, the meaning, and a few small stories from real life. And I will also remind you that you can use these idioms in your own speech, because they bring life into your words. Let us begin with our first idiom. Idiom 1, break the ice. The idiom is break the ice. In English, this means to do something that helps people feel more comfortable when they meet for the first time. Origin. In the past, in cold countries, rivers and seas often froze. Ships could not move. Smaller ships, called icebreakers, went first and broke the ice, opening the way. So in social life, when someone breaks the ice, they make the first move to open the way for conversation. Quick tale 1. Imagine a new student in school. Everyone is quiet. Nobody talks. Suddenly, one boy makes a funny joke about the weather. Everyone laughs. That is breaking the ice. Little scene 2. At work, when a new colleague comes, the manager says, "Let us each share one favorite food." Suddenly people smile, laugh, and talk. The ice is broken. Fun example 3. I remember my first English speaking club. I was nervous. Then the teacher asked me, "What is your favorite movie?" I answered Gladiator. Immediately 5 people started talking with me about it. That question broke the ice. Meaning in life, breaking the ice is simple, but it can change everything. It reminds us that the first small step opens the way for human connection. Now let us look at another colorful idiom. Idiom 2, spill the beans. This idiom means to reveal a secret. Origin. In ancient Greece, people often voted using beans. White beans meant yes, black beans meant no. If someone spilled the beans, the secret result was shown. Short story 1. A little girl tells her mother, "I know what Dad bought you for your birthday." She cannot stop herself. She spills the beans. Tiny episode 2. In a company, one worker tells a journalist about a new project before it is public. He spills the beans. Practice story 3. Once my friend said, "I have a secret, but I cannot tell it." I asked many questions. After 5 minutes, he told me everything. He spilled the beans. Meaning in life, when people cannot keep a secret, the truth escapes. Sometimes it happens by accident, sometimes on purpose, but the effect is the same. Here comes another wonderful idiom. Idiom 3, hit the sack. This idiom means to go to sleep. Origin. In the past, people often slept on sacks filled with hay, not modern beds. To hit the sack meant to lie down and sleep. Quick scene 1. After a long school day, a boy says, "I am tired, I will hit the sack early tonight." Little dialogue 2. I remember after my first English exam. I came home, ate quickly, and hit the sack. 2 minutes later, I was asleep. Fun example 3. At a summer camp, friends talk late at night. Finally, one says, "Okay, I will hit the sack, see you tomorrow." Meaning in life, it is a casual, friendly way to say you are going to bed. It makes daily speech sound natural. Let us move to the next expression. Idiom 4, bite the bullet. This idiom means to do something difficult or unpleasant with courage. Origin. Long ago, soldiers had no modern anesthesia. During operations, they sometimes bit on a bullet to endure pain. Today, when you face a hard task, you bite the bullet. Short story 1. A student hates public speaking, but he stands up and gives his talk. He bites the bullet. Tiny episode 2. A woman must finally go to the dentist. She is afraid, but she goes. She bites the bullet. Practice story 3. When I made my first podcast, I was nervous. But I told myself, just bite the bullet and do it. And now I am here with you. Meaning in life, courage does not mean no fear. Courage means action even when you are afraid. Now it is time for a new idiom. Idiom 5, kick the bucket. This idiom is a softer way to say to die. Origin. One theory says animals in the past were killed while standing on a wooden beam called a bucket. When the animal died, it kicked the bucket. Fun example 1. In movies, an old man says, "Before I kick the bucket, I want to travel the world." Little scene 2. My neighbor once told me, "I want to write a book before I kick the bucket." It was funny, but also deep. Quick tale 3. Friends sometimes use it with humor. If I eat this spicy food, I might kick the bucket. Meaning in life, it makes talking about death less heavy, sometimes even a little humorous. Let us open the door to another expression. Idiom 6, under the weather. This idiom means to feel a little sick or not in your best condition. Origin. A long time ago, sailors said that when someone felt ill, they were under the weather, meaning below deck, away from the wind and rain. Quick tale 1. A friend called me in the morning and said, "I cannot come today. I am feeling under the weather." I immediately understood he was sick. Little scene 2. At work, a colleague sneezed several times and said, "I am a bit under the weather." Everyone understood to be gentle and help. Fun example 3. Last winter, I drank cold water too fast and felt under the weather. I stayed in bed, read a book, and recovered slowly. Meaning in life, this idiom reminds us that even small discomforts are part of human life, and it is okay to rest when we are not well. Here comes another colorful idiom. Idiom 7, piece of cake. This idiom means something very easy. Origin. In the 19th century, English people gave cakes as prizes in competitions. Winning a cake was a simple joy, so the phrase became associated with ease. Short story 1. A student said, "This English exercise is a piece of cake," and finished it in 10 minutes. Tiny episode 2. I remember cooking pasta for the first time. My sister laughed and said, "This is a piece of cake for me." Practice story 3. When I learned a new English song, it seemed difficult at first. But after practice, it became a piece of cake. Meaning in life, sometimes tasks feel hard at the beginning, but with patience and focus, they become a piece of cake. Let us move to another expression. Idiom 8, cost an arm and a leg. This idiom means something is very expensive. Origin. In the past, portraits of people in England were charged by the number of limbs in the picture. A full-body portrait with all arms and legs cost much more. Hence, cost an arm and a leg. Fun example 1. A friend said, "This new phone costs an arm and a leg." He was surprised by the price. Little dialogue 2. I bought a new backpack online. My friend asked the price. I said, "It cost an arm and a leg." We both laughed. Quick tale 3. Traveling to Europe can cost an arm and a leg, but the experience is unforgettable. Meaning in life, this idiom teaches us to appreciate value and be careful with money, but also enjoy rare opportunities. Now it is time to explore a rare expression. Idiom 9, once in a blue moon. This idiom means something that happens very rarely. Origin. A blue moon is a second full moon in one calendar month. It is rare, so the phrase came to describe unusual events. Short story 1. I said to my friend, "We meet once in a blue moon." It shows that our meetings are special. Tiny episode 2. In my town, a street festival happens once in a blue moon. Everyone looks forward to it. Practice story 3. I eat chocolate only once in a blue moon. It makes it more delicious when I do. Meaning in life, this idiom reminds us to value rare moments and enjoy them fully. Here comes another fascinating idiom. Idiom 10, beat around the bush. This idiom means to avoid talking directly about something. Origin. In hunting, people would beat bushes to drive out birds without hitting them directly. The phrase came to mean avoiding the main point. Quick scene 1. At a meeting, a colleague said many things but never mentioned the problem. We realized he was beating around the bush. Fun example 2. A friend wanted to ask for a favor but kept talking about other topics first. He was beating around the bush. Little dialogue 3. I asked my brother, "Did you eat my cookies?" He said, "Well, I was, baking yesterday." He was clearly beating around the bush. Meaning in life, this idiom reminds us that honesty and clarity save time and avoid misunderstandings. Now I want to share with you a fresh idiom. Idiom 11, the ball is in your court. This idiom means that it is someone's turn to take action or make a decision. Origin. It comes from sports like tennis. When the ball is in your court, it is your responsibility to play. Quick tale 1. I told my friend, "I have done my part, now the ball is in your court." He smiled and understood he had to decide. Fun example 2. A manager explained to a team member, "I sent you the proposal. The ball is in your court now." Everyone nodded. Tiny episode 3. In relationships, sometimes you apologize and wait. Then the ball is in their court. Meaning in life, this idiom reminds us that life is a dialogue. Sometimes we act, sometimes we wait, but responsibility always comes to us in turns. Here comes another wonderful idiom. Idiom 12, hit the nail on the head. This idiom means to describe exactly what is causing a situation or problem. Origin. It comes from carpentry. If you hit the nail on the head, you do it perfectly. Short story 1. During a meeting, a colleague said, "The problem is lack of communication." Everyone realized he hit the nail on the head. Little dialogue 2. I suggested a solution to my friend about his study schedule. He said, "You hit the nail on the head." Fun example 3. In a debate, a student explained the main issue clearly. The teacher said, "You hit the nail on the head." Meaning in life, clear and precise observation helps solve problems faster and avoids unnecessary confusion. Let us move to another expression. Idiom 13, let the cat out of the bag. This idiom means to reveal a secret, often accidentally. Origin. In markets, sometimes merchants sold pigs in bags, but sometimes a cat was inside. If someone let the cat out, the secret was revealed. Quick scene 1. My sister accidentally told our parents about my surprise birthday party. She let the cat out of the bag. Fun example 2. At work, a colleague mentioned a new product before the announcement. He let the cat out of the bag. Little dialogue 3. A friend whispered a secret, but I accidentally repeated it. Oops. I let the cat out of the bag. Meaning in life, sometimes secrets escape. It reminds us to be careful, but also that small mistakes happen to everyone. Now it is time for a new idiom. Idiom 14, burn the midnight oil. This idiom means to work late at night. Origin. Before electricity, people used oil lamps. Working late at night meant burning the oil to see. Quick tale 1. A student studied all night for an exam. He burned the midnight oil. Tiny episode 2. I remember writing a story until 2 in the morning. I was burning the midnight oil. Fun example 3. At the office, my colleague prepared the report until late. He burned the midnight oil to meet the deadline. Meaning in life, sometimes hard work requires persistence. Burning the midnight oil is a metaphor for dedication. Here comes another fascinating idiom. Idiom 15, add fuel to the fire. This idiom means to make a bad situation worse. Origin. In the past, people knew that putting more fuel on a small fire makes it burn stronger. Short story 1. Two friends argued. One shouted more, adding fuel to the fire. The fight became bigger. Little scene 2. At work, a misunderstanding grew when someone shared rumors. They added fuel to the fire. Practice story 3. Sometimes online arguments get worse because people post angry comments. They are adding fuel to the fire. Meaning in life, this idiom reminds us to be calm and thoughtful. Reacting carelessly can make problems bigger. Let us move to another intriguing idiom. Idiom 16, cry over spilt milk. This idiom means to worry about something that already happened and cannot be changed. Origin. The phrase comes from Old English proverbs. Spilled milk cannot be collected again, so there is no use crying. Quick tale 1. I forgot my homework at home. My friend said, "Don't cry over spilt milk. Just focus on tomorrow." Fun example 2. A woman burned her toast. She laughed and said, "No use crying over spilt milk." Little scene 3. During a game, I made a mistake. I realized it was no use crying over spilt milk. I tried harder next time. Meaning in life, this idiom reminds us to accept mistakes and focus on solutions instead of regrets. Here comes another interesting expression. Idiom 17, throw in the towel. This idiom means to give up or admit defeat. Origin. It comes from boxing. When a boxer's team throws a towel into the ring, it signals surrender. Short story 1. A student tried solving a very hard puzzle. After hours, he said, I throw in the towel. Tiny episode 2. At work, a team struggled with a project. Finally, the manager threw in the towel and asked for help. Fun example 3. In sports, if a player is injured and cannot continue, the coach may throw in the towel. Meaning in life, it reminds us that knowing when to stop is also a part of wisdom. Now let us discover another colorful idiom. Idiom 18, barking up the wrong tree. This idiom means to make a wrong assumption or pursue the wrong idea. Origin. In hunting, dogs sometimes barked at the wrong tree, thinking the prey was there. Quick scene 1. I blamed my friend for a mistake he did not make. He said, "You are barking up the wrong tree." Fun example 2. At work, a colleague accused another of a missed task. I told him he was barking up the wrong tree. Little dialogue 3. During a discussion, someone suggested an impossible solution. I laughed and said, "You are barking up the wrong tree." Meaning in life, this idiom teaches us to check facts before acting. Mistakes often come from wrong assumptions. Here comes another fascinating idiom. Idiom 19, cut corners. This idiom means to do something quickly or cheaply, often ignoring rules or quality. Origin. It comes from the practice of taking a shorter path around corners, sometimes breaking rules. Short story 1. A student tried to finish homework in 5 minutes. He cut corners and made many mistakes. Tiny episode 2. In construction, if builders cut corners, the building may be unsafe. Fun example 3. Sometimes we try to save time at work and cut corners. But it often leads to more problems later. Meaning in life, this idiom reminds us that shortcuts can be tempting, but quality and care matter. Now it is time for the last idiom of today. Idiom 20, take the bull by the horns. This idiom means to face a difficult situation directly and with courage. Origin. In farming, to control a bull, one had to grab it by the horns. The idiom became a metaphor for courage. Quick tale 1. I finally spoke to my teacher about a problem. I took the bull by the horns and asked directly. Fun example 2. A colleague faced a difficult project. He took the bull by the horns and started immediately. Little scene 3. Sometimes in life, problems cannot wait. We must take the bull by the horns and act. Meaning in life, this idiom inspires courage. Action, even when difficult, is always better than waiting. Dear friends, today we explored 20 wonderful idioms. Each idiom is not just a phrase. It is a story, a memory, a small window into the culture and life of English speakers. I hope you enjoyed the stories, the examples, and the little lessons behind them. Remember, using idioms in your speech makes English lively and human. Practice them slowly. Try them in conversations. Don't worry about mistakes, every effort brings improvement. Thank you for listening to Polyglot Nook. All of you, I give a warm hug and now I say goodbye.